You want to build a new team, but you don't know who's supposed to be the star of the show? Hello everyone! Today we'll talk about the things that made a good DPS. We will not take into consideration equipment, supporters, or anything else, only the individual characteristics of each character. So without further ado, let's begin. The first thing that we'll talk about are the stats. Stats are one of the most important things that determines the role of a unit. For your main DPS, the higher the attack or int, the better. When Tyrant Valvatoris arrived, he had the highest attack in the game, with a grand total of 12,003,000 attack. This number has become outdated. Nowadays, the main DPS dealing stats, it's around 30,500,000. But with the arrival of gorgeous units on the 1.5 anniversary, that will change to 15 million. Does that mean it's not worthy to roll on the upcoming banners until we receive these new units with higher stats? Not quite. You see, some units have good abilities and skills which benefit the whole party. Supreme Laharn is a prime example of that. Also, it has been confirmed that they plan to buff all their units. At least collab units. The upcoming Lapusel event just got a rerun where, if I'm not mistaken, they buff all the units. Talking about abilities, most characters have a party-wide stat boost for their first ability. On most cases it's 15%. Some special cases have 18%. And on very rare instances, it goes up to 20%. These abilities are good to give a slight boost to the team, but usually these aren't the main appeal of a unit. Abilities which give an attack or int buff are good, but the problem is that sometimes you won't be able to fulfill the activation condition, or maybe you're already maxed out thanks to the supporters. An example of how these abilities can be detrimental is Tyrant Valvatoris. He gains attack for 2 turns each time he kills an enemy, but if you're on a raid, you'll probably only gain this effect once, and he won't be able to kill the boss on 2 turns. On the other hand, there are abilities which are easy to activate and worthwhile. The recently added Overlord Rosalind gains a 30% int and crit buff if there's only one surviving enemy. There are also abilities which boost damage. Most main DPS have some form of this effect, which usually goes from 45% up to 70%. Right now, we're about to start getting units with 65% damage up. The most important thing is, again, that the activation condition is easy to fulfill. Overlord Asagi is a fan favorite, and for good reason, but her damage up has a really bad activation condition. You need to have a full monster team. That isn't so bad. But the problem is that the only monster with good healing is Liserote, so if you don't have her, you probably won't be able to use that ability. Then we have self-sufficient damage up abilities, like the one from Tyrant Overlord Kilidia, who gets 55% skill damage when equipped with Feast. On rare instances, a character may have another damage up ability with a different activation condition. Kilidia and Xenomao deal 100% more damage when there is only one enemy left. Let's not forget about SP Gen abilities. You don't really want the main DPS to have an SP battery, even though it's useful. What they really want is an SP Gen. Recently on JP, some of the best units got an ability which gives them 20 SP, usually tied to a condition they can fulfill easily. These kind of abilities allow you to use and abuse your skills, which is what you want to do with these units. A good example of these are Supreme Lahar and Supreme Girl Lahar. The first has a universal battery, and the later has an SP Gen which activates whenever she has a crit damage buff, which she herself can provide. Lastly, let's talk about crit abilities. With the arrival of Supreme Lahar, we will start seeing more and more crit-related abilities and skills. These kind of effects will boost your damage and improve your consistency on your strategies. This is the new meta for the game, so you might as well start preparing. The only thing left to talk about are skills. For the most part, you want 4 kind of skills on your main DPS. An AoE attack to clear stages, a single target attack with S rank to kill bosses, some kind of buff, especially something that is far more useful than Mega Braveheart or Mega Magic Boost, and a defense or resist debuff. Some may say that giving utility to your main DPS is a waste, but there are situations when you don't want to deal damage one turn, to increase the damage output you will deal the next turn. That's why it's important to have buffs and debuffs on your main DPS. There is also the action gauge plus 1000 skills. Usually, these are very good because they allow you to attack or buff yourself and then do another action. But you have to take into consideration that this means that you're having 2 turns in a row, so the buffs you have get a -1 in their turn count. If you're mindful about that, you will use them correctly and deal a huge amount of damage. That's all. If you enjoyed the video, share, like, subscribe, comment, whatever you want. Tell me what you want to see next in the comments. See ya!